Hello, Golden Marker. Hello, everyone. I'm Winston. I'm glad to share my perspective about industrial Internet of Things today. Here's our today keynoters. One is David Lee from Beijer Electronic. The other is me. I come from Korenix. Here is today's agenda. We are talking about chain and challenges of industrial networking, and the IoT networking infrastructure, IoT to IoT data connectivity will be hosted by David Lee. And the IoT application sharing, and the last one will be Q&A. Here is a chain and challenge of industrial networking. First, let us go to the chains. I have got a lot of inquiries from our customer who are looking for the solutions. They can a system integrator or product provider can help them to integrate machine protocols, drivers, and also they want to see a report and help them to do the data uplink to cloud at the same time. The purpose is easy to be understanding for saving labor cost or maintenance fee, and most important is to help them to enhance their system, getting more efficiency. So networking for industrial grade is becoming more important because its characteristic is redundancy, security, and can work properly in harsh environment to secure their application stable. So comprising those two functionalities into the one solution, we can expecting more and more demand for near future comparing with current one. So from this trend chart here, you can see IIoT market starting from the 2020 this year to 2025, with 5 years later, is expected to grow about 2 times from 2020. So during the COVID-19, I believe the demand is becoming more stronger than the report indication. So we have to accelerate the solution integrator in order to fulfill each industrial applications. So what is industrial applications? There are a lot of successful case or vertical market Korenix and Beijer Electronic we can contribute to our customer or SI. Those applications we have a lot of successful case. For example, here infrastructure including IoT, automation, smart city, wastewater, or surveillance. Those applications will require heavy industrial EMC certificate. Some will require power Ethernet technology to help them to save deployment cost and at the same time do a data capture at the same time. In addition, PoE technology last year launched the state-of-the-art technology called a BT solution, which can provide power devices with 90 watts. That is a maximum power consumption. And the third largest private network we have see in the transportation. For example, bus, coach, and train, metro. That is a transportation application. They will require such as eMark for vehicle. In Europe, will have ITXPT certificate requirements from their government, and certificate for the chain will require a 50155, the latest version called 50155 2017 version, and the check size require the EN 5121-4, and also from some critical and some harsh environment in the energy fields. For example, substation, chemical, and the wind power, solar power. Those require the power station certificate, such as the IEC 161 850-3 or ULC1D2. They just need to make sure your work environment device work properly without any failure cause huge lost or damage other devices to secure people's safety and so on. And also here is another strength for our Beijer Electronics is marine. They require DFV applications. So from these 7 fields and others, we are really good at to provide our customer with comprehensive solutions. So here is a challenge with customer they have report to us. For example, here you might be here Rockwell. They use Ethernet IP. Siemens they use a Profinet. Schneider they use mobile TCP IP, and EtherCAT and Ethernet PowerLink and others. A lot of manufacturers they use not only Rockwell but also use Siemens or Schneider or others. So data transaction gateway with protocol is becoming really important, and there will be a pinpoint for your end customer. So as a system integration and professional product provider such as Beijer and Korenix, we can help you to do the protocol transmit, and then we'll show you more our strengths. And the customer will have some cloud service maintain issues. For example, you might use Apple Cloud, iCloud, Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud. Those cloud are affordable, but turn into the platform according to the company's need will be more expensive because they need to customize to fulfill your need. And service provider is reliability is not another issue. So for this topic, Beijer Electronics, they can provide you a product and help you to solve those pain points. The other will be data security. As we all know, cybersecurity is really serious topic nowadays. We don't want to lose our data, and we don't want to release our valuable asset, company asset, to be hacker to attack. So data security, we have to pay more attention. So if you can prevent those hack at your end devices, your switch, or even though your core switch, before going to your operation system, those devices, if they have TACAS Plus, AAA, private VPN, DNZ, even a security U-boot or trust zone, they can help you. They can help your operation system less effort to process those purposed hackers. So when you choose edge switch, edge devices, those features is more common and more helpful for your edge side. And the industrial design and the certificate is another hardware guaranteed to work properly and normally in your applications. So as Beijer IX software, which can cover over 100 PLC drivers, you can see support a lot of well-known vendors, drivers, and also our drivers has been keeping updating into our IX. So you can help your customer to solve their pinpoint of integration different switches, different devices. So later on, David will introduce more to you. So here is industrial grade certificate comparing with the commercial one. You can see here there's CE and FCC we are almost familiar with the commercial one. And the industrial one, there is 3 examples. First one is check side, power station, heavy industrial. Let's compare with about the EFT. On the wayside, power station, heavy industrial, there is a higher than CE portion 2 times, 4 times, even though 8 times. So what do those industrial grade require those higher? Because they worry about some application will cause burnt, cause fire, disconnect, cause a lot side effects. That's why industrial grade requires higher criteria than CE. And for example, search for wayside power station, heavy industrial, all are higher than commercial one. Our coverage is more than commercial one. So that's why a lot of our customers, they found a commercial application. Now they are getting used to use industrial products. So let's move on to the IoT networking infrastructure. I believe you have a briefly image in your mind about the challenge of our industrial networking application. What do we need? What do we have? And what is a pinpoint to your customer from your customer? So from the IoT networking infrastructure here, if you need to do, as we all know, we are doing the artificial AIoT is artificial intelligence of things. We have to collect a lot of data, starting from the such as IP can. IP can will collect people's face, so you can do the people counting, face detection, and some application for you for end user to do an analysis, and some collect some data such as the humidity sensor, light sensor, temperature, fire, water, salt. Those sensors might be use digital signal input or analog input. So from the sensor side, you have to consider how to transmit those data. So industrial connectivity become a really important intermediate. It can help your data capture devices translate to the Ethernet. For example, you might require series port to Ethernet, fiber port to Ethernet, or some VDS or extender to Ethernet. Those things need to use industrial data connectivity. But if your data capture devices is able to transmit data to Ethernet, you can skip this layer, going to the network edge called switch layer. They have a plenty of solutions such as wired switch, wireless switch. They can help you to collect all data back to your data center, even upload your data to the cloud. So with those data, you can do what you want to do, such as passenger information system for transportation, SCADA system to detect, analyze your end devices, workers, or some human detection, face detection applications. There is a lot of application need to use IoT networking infrastructure like this picture indication. So for example, we demonstrate the data center here. There is some super user or supercomputer. They will use the layer 3 switch to do the networking management. So layer 3 is recommended to deploy in your data center. You might see a lot of rack mounted switch in your cabinet. So here, and have you seen that there's a two line, red line connected? Because we worry about if there is some disconnected, well, your system still can be operating. So there's a customer to deploy it. So here, if you want to present your Orbis networking, they will have different layers. For example, here you use a mobile gateway or high-level interface, such as fiber and some application here. And in the building here is a Razor B. They have the divisions here and the Razor A division here. So they connected together become a ring in order to prevent if something happens between each of them and won't cause your network abnormal. So we can separate different division, use the layer 3 to depart. For example, here might be a VLAN 1, VLAN 2, VLAN 3, VLAN 5, VLAN 6, and all of them can communicate to each other and also with some security secure each networking. And then your super user can management of them and to make sure your system operation well. There's a data center basic foundation networking topology. For example, before a lot of people use tree topology. Here is no redundancy. Can you imagine that if this abnormal encounter, there is disconnect. So user cannot receive any data from here. So we have enhanced and recommend our user multiple rings topology to make sure your networking is stable. And also our devices support open standard ITU-G 8032. We call it ERPS V1 and V2, which can cooperate with third party. It means in the future, you don't need to choose Korenix switch. You can choose other brand switch which support ERPS. So you can present the redundant ring like this. So your networking will be good. Here is another IoT networking infrastructure for power distribution fiber network. The power distribution system is the last mile of the power transmission. The distribution covers a wide range of area. I believe in your country, yes, there is a really wide range. So distribution network is subject to the weather and other environmental conditions, which resulting in the inevitable failure. So how to quickly identify the point of failure and restore the electricity when failure occurs is the foremost task. So Taiwan type power system introduced a power distribution monitoring system to reduce the time of the outage. So here is that you might be seeing that in your country there is a utility port, and utility port there is a two-way here light switch and connected to FTU. We call the field terminal. And maybe you might see that on your on the screen. There is a four-way light switch in the FTU. So what is FTU inside? There is a DUT, which is just to connect with a rose line. There has a DIDO and AC voltage, AC current, fault detection, and how to transmit those data. They will require a switch to transmit this data. So you can see this topology. There is a station 1, station B, station C. There is connected with a fiber. There is a ring topology in order to secure your network stable. And then connected to the RTU is a remote terminal unit, and then connected to each utility. So each utility just collect those data and transmit back to your center. And here you can see the router is L3. L3 switch over a router to redirect each IP and or each VLAN. There is a power distribution file network infrastructure topology for your reference. They can present just a feeder distribution control system for your reference. And let's go back to industrial 4 generation. As we all know, when you're a smart manufacturer, they will have to collect such as meters, sound, power, and other machines status back to the your edge compute. So use a SCADA system to collect those information. And nowadays, maybe 10 or 20 years ago, we started use IT plus OT plus IT solution. We have sharp law subsystem that can connect to each other, collect data to the SCADA system, edge computer, and transmit data back to the IT. And they can use a sharp flow to do a data analysis or to do a daily report analysis. And how to perform IIoT or AIoT, we call it industrial 4 generation, which is ongoing. A lot of customers, they are worried about if they just improve their current status to industrial 4 generation, how they worry about if they're doing that, will cause their production line stop or terminate with a period of time. But they don't. That is their concern. We can understand because when your production line stop, it means you lost your revenue. So we just present to our customer, if you just use we don't need to change your existing production line utility equipment. We just only need to connect one devices to the cloud. They can help you to achieve IoT application. How do we do that? You can see here from the machine to the cloud, we only need to gateway. So the gateway can use an OCPUA or MTQQ to reach the cloud service. So you can do those things in parallel at the same time. So your customer can reach that. So as our perspective, IoT gateway forming will be defined into data transaction only and smart edge gateway with computing functionality. As we here can see, data transaction only, we have Korenix JBox. The following and the price, following will be high and the price will go to low. And with some high-end requirement, will use smart gateway, which Beijer electronic box series or EPC series, we can help our customer to reach that. And then Debbie will introduce more about IT and IoT data connectivity to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is David from Beijer Electronic. Let me share my slide first. For industrial IoT, the most important task is how to get the data from the field devices like the machine and controller. The Beijer Electronic is the HMI solution provided since the year 1981. And we know the most important function for HMI is getting the data from the field equipment that make the visualization solutions. So over the 39 years, Beijer Electronic developed a lot of driving protocol for industrial device equipment for controller. So this is why we have the core competence for OT data collection. Let's look at for the industrial IoT, the basic architect, okay? In OT side, we have so many machine, controller, a lot of the device equipment, and we need the product like the gateway, okay, to get the data from these devices. Then we can put the data in the edge side for the edge visualization, like a digital ballroom, or for some of the data analysis for edge computing. And if we need an advanced data analysis function like artificial intelligence, we can send to the cloud side. As Beijer Electronic, the major solution for the IoT is focus on the edge side, like a gateway, like an edge server software. If you look at for Industry 4.0 deployment milestone, in real case, most of the case is existing factory. For implement such kind of system to an existing factory, the people will think about for return of investment. And they also have to consider to be not affect the operation for the factory. So they will go for step by step. The first step will facility and the environment, the management. Then if they get some benefit, get some good result, then will another invest to the enhanced production management in production line. And in production line, they will move to the next step for asset and the performance management for machinery and the production equipment for the machines that we call machine to machine or machine data for detailed data like health condition, everything. So in this three stage, we can say there's OT digitalization. When the user they complete the OT digitalization work, they will think about to integrate IT data like MBS and the ERP. So they can merge the IT and OT data together. They can do the OT IT data integration for overall view for the visualization, also for the data analysis. In Beijer Electronic, we have important software for our HMI. This is called IX. So the software, as I mentioned before, we have a lot of industrial devices drivers. So you can see that below is so many the brand list, and we have more, but we cannot list everything in this slide. And not only for the industrial devices, we also develop some IT protocol driver, like the OPC UA, like the MQTT for IoT connectivity, the RESTful API. And we also support some of the typical IT protocol driver like HTML5, C# script, FTP, or SQL. So we combine both of these two protocols in OT and IT. That's why we can have the connectivity enabled in the IX for industrial IoT. And we look at for the OT digitalization first. In the factory, they have some scenario. The first one, as I mentioned, the first step, the environment management. So they have a facility and a utility. They will need a low-cost gateway, go for Modbus only. They can read some of the data from the sensor, transmitter, or smart meter. Then we move that for some production management. We will have some data collection from the production line. So most of the cases is the PLC. Okay, so we need the gateway for PLC to get the data for the production line. And then for existing factory, some factory they may be built up a long time ago, maybe just 20 or 30 years ago. So they will have some equipment, the controller is very old. So the aged equipment gateway is necessary because you cannot ask a customer to replace the old one. Because to replace the older one, it means the production work have to stop. This cannot be accepted by the factory. So if we can have aged equipment gateway, so we can just add on such kind of gateway to get the data from the old controller, then to make a digitalization work. And beside the production line, we have a lot of machine, sometimes for CNC. So we need the tooling machine gateway. Something like Farnac, the Mitsubishi, the Headhand, and the Siemens the CNC controller. And also in Asia or in the United States, and we know the semiconductor industry are very in a very high growth in the market. So sometimes we need a SysGen gateway because SysGen is the common standard for the protocol in a semiconductor. Okay, so in the digitalization for the manufacturing side, they have these 5 scenarios. In the Beijer Electronics, we have such kind of solution to fill these 5 requirements. We know the Modbus gateway is much easier, but for the PLC controller, sometimes we need the gateway, and just like with device driver, because it doesn't like the Fieldbus gateway, because Fieldbus gateway sometimes you need to modify the program in the PLC. If the case is the existing operation factory, the PLC to control something already, if you want to stop it to add on some program, it cannot be accepted because the user will worry about it to affect the operation stability. But in the PLC, for the PLC driver, like the HMI, we just plug and play. So we don't modify anything for the controller, so we can get the data. So that's a very perfect solution for existing operating the factory. We get the data, we can send the data to the IT side like OPCU, MQTT, RESTful API, FTP, WebView website. Yeah. So that's for PLC gateway in the Beijer Electronics. For some edge equipment, just like some of the very old controller, like the PLC5, SLC5 for Allen Bradley, or the Siemens S5. And it's very difficult to find a driver support in the market. But the Beijer Electronics, we have such kind of very old PLC driver in our software. So in this such a very old PLC, and by using the gateway, we don't have to replace the controller, and we don't have to modify the programming for this PLC. So you can easily to get the data from such kind of old devices. Some case is very interesting. Just like some of the controller, the PLC, the equipment HMI already. So all of the communication interface is be occupied already. So you don't have any communication port to get the data. As our gateway, we have some special functions. It's called transparent mode. So we can add on our gateway in the middle way between the existing HMI and the controller. So we can wiring for transparent, so the HMI and the PLC can do their work as usual. And we create another new communication port to read the data from PLC. So we don't have to replace the existing PLC or HMI, and then we have no inference for existing communication to get the data for digitalizations. So this is another solution for edge equipment. Of course, we also have some solution for tooling machine. If the tooling machine use a PLC, this is very easy for Beijer Electronic. If they use some high-end the CNC controller like the Mitsubishi, Headhand, Farnack, and the Mitsubishi, and we have the related driver to do it. And for the session, we also have session driver. So for some machine builder or some equipment supplier, they have to make their machinery to compatible with session protocol. But they also use the typical PLC, the PLC as controller. By using our gateway or HMI, they can just add on gateway HMI, and then we can translate the protocol, the driver for PLC to be session compatible. Yeah, so it can make the semicon or the PCB equipment the supplier very easy to upgrade their control system to be compatible by session. So for OT digitalization, we can fulfill almost all the requirement by this 5 scenario, and you can find all of the solution in the Beijer Electronic. Then we can look at the OT and IT data integrations. The evolution for IT and OT, the convergence, okay? And we can, I think everybody will be very familiar in this diagram, just like I/O, PLC, SCADA, MES, and ERP. And in typical operations, we know in the manufacturing side, and we just use SCADA to monitor and manage for the factory operations. And in the enterprise side, that's like MES, ERP side, they will have some IT for the BI, the business intelligence. Before, this is the two separate systems. But in the industrial IoT age, the people would like to have overview for enterprise. So they need an IoT and IT data integration for digital ballroom. And just our software IX, our software combine the OT driver and the protocol. Also, we also have some IT protocol and driver. So we can leverage our software to do such kind of work. So currently, if we look at for digital ballroom is for data collection, then make the visualization. Okay, and another most important data is from OT side. So HMI is OT data collection and visualization. It's quite similar. If the paradigm shift for HMI software, if we can move from OT to cover the IT side, so that would be a very perfect solution in the market. So for the Beijer Electronic, the IX software, we cover the OT protocol, and you can see we can support a lot of IT applications, like the report, a lot of the Excel file, data file, PDF, and also the CSV, FTP, web service, SQL connectivity. Of course, in IoT side, we can support the MQTT, and for remote access, we can support the VNC functions. So by using IX software, you can get the data by using our protocol and the driver to carry data from field industrial devices. Then you can use our IT protocol to merge to integrate the API or SQL and to get the data from ERP, MES, and POM. So you can easily combine the OT and IT data together to make the digital forum. Okay, in such kind of the application, you don't have to modify your current running the OT equipment or the IT system. Then you can also connect to the cloud. So Beijer Electronics, we use our software to make our own digital border for IT and OT data integration. We have a factory in Taiwan, and we also have we also link to our headquarter ERP system and also the MES system. So we just make our data some gateway to install in our factory side and link to our ERP system, so we can have such kind of digital ballroom. So you can see here facility monitoring and management, predictive, energy, okay, also some performance, the ERP, the POM system together. So you can see the very good example for OT and IT data integration. So we can see some energy consumption and the machinery, the equipment running status, and we can get to the MES system to see the working order and about the progress, and for some of the running status of the environment, everything. So in such kind of system, you don't have to separate to look at the BI in the IT side and for SCADA. You can combine all of the data together to support, to help the manager level to have a more smart and intelligent way to make a decision and for some operation reference. Another important thing like this, because most of the people will think of, okay, the digital ballroom is very complicated and we need the different driver, the protocol for different of the industrial devices, and for digital ballroom, and there's another software for spatial visualization. So they need a lot of engineer resources to do that, and it looks like very difficult to implement. But as our solution, our IX is HMI, and we use our IX in the gateway side because the IX has so many drivers for industrial devices, and because in the edge side, because IX also open for IT protocol. So from the field devices to the gateway and to the edge server for the digital ballroom for some of the data and the OT and IT data server, the user just need one software, and the engineer just learn one software, then they can do the OT and IT data integration. So it's not complicated. It saves a lot of resources, and it makes things to be easy. Thank you. That's my section. And the next thing will be IIoT application sharing. Okay, and Winston will take care. Bye.
In this portion, I would like to share two successful cases in the IoT application. One is in the building automation. The other is water and wastewater. So building automation is a control system with a computer networking of electronic devices designed to monitor and manage the mechanical security, fire and floor safety, a lighting system including emergency lighting, humidity control, and HVAC system. Those systems can enhance user experience while staying in the building. Meanwhile, it's also beneficial to the building administrator, for example, having an efficient operation daily, during a reduction in energy consumption, improving life cycle of utility so that the administrator can save operation expense more than previous. So from my perspective, building automation should equip with a centralized user interface because it needs to manage a larger number of sensors connected to distribute controller. You can see here first layer. Imagine that if you are IT guys you have to check a status. So then will require a display connect with a computer. Or you can use a HMI which displayed the real-time data. And sometimes you have to work from home, use the remote control. So you might require internet devices through the web browser to log in. And also acquire a raw data. You can do a data analysis to enhance your systems. So from first layer, those I think that's really essential. For the second layer, it might be a need to a gateway controller or switches, because this layer, they including many standard or communication or some protocol. So it is most needs gradually moving toward to open or IP-based devices such as switch or wireless devices. And as we all know, the challenge will be the protocol. So Beijer Electronics, we can offer you a lot of products to overcome it. And our customer also doing a smart building is unlike common industrial application. They emphasize interoperability more than redundancy. That's what I have seen now. So here's one successful case in PHILP headquarter in Amsterdam. Their IT administrator wants to monitor the whole building status, such as room occupancy and the consumption of LED, temperature, and office worker. Meanwhile, their IT or their workers, they can use their smartphone or computer to adjust their lighting, such as brightness, on, off, or different mode of the lighting. How can they use the Korenix recommend switches with the PoE feature? They also can transmit data and supply power to their LED modules. In this case, they use over 600 LED and connect with a lot of sensors to help them to check their people distribution, temperature, and energy consumption. This session make our customer to gain a certificate of building research establishment, environmental assessment, methodology. The other successful case in China is automatic warehouse. Our customer wants to enhance their existing infrastructure to automatic warehouse. So they bought a lot of AGV devices here, but they don't know how to achieve that. So firstly, we adjust them to build up the show with digitalization features and the systems of conveyor belt and forklift with digitalized features. And second, embedded the wireless module into the AGV devices. It will be the client to be controlled by the IT administrator. But how can we connect with them? Use the Wi-Fi APE. So they are a whole complete coverage through the AP. So IT guys can remote control those AGV devices. And also, you might see you might be not familiar with how to adjust wireless signal. We offer one apps called JSR. You can check on your cell phone to know which signal is weak or good, and then you can just adjust the AP antenna and the sound setting. So it's an easy way to see the signal status from through this app. After setting up those features, the customer they can use their AGV IoT automation features programming. So this project can help our customer to upgrade their infrastructure. So how to choose digitalization features? For our Beijer Electronics, we offer three different types of needs for our customer. Firstly, we just collect data to the database. For their developer, they can choose which one they want, or we just can display user Korenix, user Beijer electronic their IX applications to display to the dashboard, to our HMI and so on, or just upload the data to the cloud. So user, they can just work writing access into the cloud to do what application they want. There's some two of successful case in the building automation. The other is water and wastewater application. The water industry provides drinking water and wastewater service to the residential, commercial, and industrial sectors of the economy. Typically, it can be used in a water supply, high wastewater treatment, a water tank, water pump, and sewage systems here. So here's a lot of challenge we will face. Firstly, they require the reliable networking because they have to work 24 hours, 7 days without failure. And there's another challenge is your SI might not be familiar with IP-based communication protocol. So SI, system integrator, and the proper owner is also another challenge. And here is a high concern about physical security and cyber threat because it just install outside or people is easy to get into. So regarding the physical security or cyber threat, there is some list and the regulation list in NIS directive. I have attached the hyperlink. Maybe later you can check it out. And also outdoor environment and some power consumption might require low because it's hard to deploy with power outlet. There's some challenge here. Here's one successful case we deployed in Sweden. This is a customer. They want to decrease their environmental impact of the country wastewater. With their wastewater treatment plant, the customer wants to reach zero emission of medical residues to the sea. So they cooperate with a recognized university and a Swedish government agency that administrates funding for the research and development. Residue from the medicine which human consume will end up in our sewer system. Today, the most wastewater treatment plants in the world are unable to remove the often hard to break down substances. So our Beijer Electronic have provided the customer with a water treatment plant with our software platform for their control system, providing complete solution with our PLC we call the Next2 Express, X2 Pro, X2 Pro control HMI, and the IOS with Korenix sound switches. As here you can see there's a topology there. So if you want to know more about cybersecurity, Korenix, we have Korenix and Beijer Electronic. We have set up different sessions for customer who wants to know more security. And also, this is a real case, a successful case. We have listed down here, and you can check it out after the webinar. So I'm glad to share all my perspective here to you, and thank you for your attention. Now we'll go to the Q&A portion. If you have any question, please just list down. Thank you.